Let's now look at adding and subtracting fractions. But before we do so, let's examine this problem here. Which number is larger, 2 over 5 or 3 over 7? Now, when you look immediately at these numbers, you can't tell which is smaller or larger. Why? Because the denominators, the two bottom numbers, are different. If the two denominators were the same, then you could tell very easily which one is larger. So, for example, if we've got 3 over 11 and we want to compare to the fraction 7 over 11, you can see the denominators are the same. Therefore, clearly 7 over 11 is larger than 3 over 11. So what we're going to do here, we're going to convert these two fractions into a common denominator. And once we've done that, we can tell which one is larger. So I'm going to convert 2 over 5 to a particular denominator, and then I'm going to convert 3 over 7 to the same denominator as here. So we need to choose a common number. 5 and 7 will divide into to get the common denominator. And that number will be 35. Why 35? Because 5 times 7 gives 35. So both of these denominators divide evenly into 35. So now you can see we have 2 over 5 and we can find the numerator here by finding a number. 5 times what gives 35? That number is 7. So therefore 2 times 7 will give 14. Here, 7 times what number gives 35? That number is 5. Now, because I multiplied the 7 by 5, I must also multiply the top number 3 by 5. I get 3 times 5 is 15. Now, you can see the denominators here are the same. We have 15 over 35, 14 over 35. Clearly, 15 over 35 is larger than 14 over 35. Therefore, 3 over 7 is larger than 2 over 5. So that answers this question, and we've shown it by finding common denominators. Now we're going to use this same idea for adding and subtracting fractions. For example, if I have 2 over 7 and I want to add 4 over 7. Now you can see the denominators here are the same, so I keep the same denominator and then just add the 2 plus 4, the two numerators, and then we get 6 over 7. Now that was a very straightforward example because, as I said, the two bottom numbers, the denominators, were the same. But what happens if we have one where the denominators are different? For example, I've got 5 over 6 plus 3 over 4. Now, because these two denominators here are different, we have to get them the same because we can only add fractions when the denominators are the same. So, we need to find a common denominator. So, I need to convert 5 over 6 with a particular denominator and then 3 over 4 to the same denominator as 5 over 6. So the number for the common denominator will be 12. Why 12? Because 12 is the smallest number 6 and 4 will divide into. It's actually the lowest common multiple of 6 and 4. So the common denominator will be 12. Now to find the numerators in each case, we follow the same procedure as before. 6 times what number gives 12? It is 2. Therefore, I multiply the top number, 5 by 2. I get 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times what number gives 12? 4 times 3 gives 12. Therefore, 3 times 3 gives 9. So now 5 over 6 is equivalent to 10 over 12. 3 over 4 is equivalent to 9 over 12. And so now when we add the two numerators together with a common denominator of 12, we get 10 plus 9 is 19 over 12. And that is our final result. Now, if you want to, you could change this 19 over 12 to a mixed number by dividing 12 into 19, and we get 1 with 7 left over, 7 over 12. So both answers are fine. Now this method here was a rather long method where we actually separated these two fractions here and then got a common denominator and then brought them back together and did the calculation. This is a rather long method. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the same problem again, but a quicker and easier and a shorter method. Now what we can do, we can go 5 over 6 plus 3 over 4 and get the common denominator immediately. And the common denominator will share the same numerator. Now the common denominator, as we said, is going to be 12, so we write 12 there. And then we go 6 into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 gives 10. So now I've actually found the numerator for this first fraction. Now I do the same idea to this second fraction, so I divide 4 into 12 and get 3. 3 times 3 gives 9. Now I've got the numerator for this second fraction. I simply now add the two numerators. I get 10 plus 9 is 19 over 12, and there is our answer. So this method here is much quicker and easier than this method here. Okay, let's do another example. We've now got 4 over 5 minus 11 over 15. Now let's do subtracting fractions. Now we're going to follow the same idea. Let's do the quick method here. Let's find a common denominator. So we want to find the smallest number 5 and 15 will divide into. Now that number is 15 because 5 goes into 15 3 times. 15 goes into 15 into itself 1 time. So we go 5 times 3 is 15. So 4 times 3 gives 12. Or we say, how many times is 5 going to 15? 3 times, and 3 times 4 is 12. 15 into itself 1 times 11 is 11. So we have 12 minus 11 over 15. 12 minus 11 is 1. The answer is 1 over 15. Now that is how we add and subtract fractions. So in summary here, if we have a look at our notes, you can see the rules are for adding and subtracting fractions. 2 or more fractions can be added or subtracted to form a single fraction. Fractions can only be added or subtracted when their denominators are the same. Then the fractions can be combined by adding or subtracting the numerators. Now, if the denominators of the fractions are different, then they must be converted so they are the same. So here are the two cases when the denominators are the same. You can see here we just simply add the two numerators. So we have 2 over 9 plus 5 over 9 gives 7 over 9. We have 10 over 11 minus 3 over 11 gives 7 over 11, and so on. Now let's have a look at case 2, where the denominators are different. Now when the denominators are different, we need to convert the denominators so they are the same and then combine the numerators to form a single fraction. Now these are the steps which we followed in the last example. Step 1, we need to find the smallest number both denominators will divide into. Now this number is the lowest common denominator. Then step 2, need to expand each fraction to find the numerators belonging to the common denominator. Okay, that's what we did. Now always remember to multiply the denominator and numerator in each fraction by the same number. And then step 3, combine the numerators by adding or subtracting them. And there we are, there's the example there which we did. And there are more study examples there which you can follow in your notes.